Hello, welcome to my project ideas. This is an ongoing series on SAP Generative AI, and this is our first video where we are going to showcase a project that we have made using the latest version of ChatGPT, that is 4.0, that is also called Turbo ChatGPT for the version 4. So, ChatGPT recently launched the latest model where you can perform a lot of activities using the latest model. But what we are going to use is specific use cases for SAP and businesses. So, this is a very familiar screen for any SAP developer and business person, where you see a lot of table fields. It's data from sales department, and in a custom business environment or in a generic business environment, what you see a lot of filters, and those filters come with a drop down or value help. And for some many use cases, it can go beyond 10 or 20 or even 100 filters, where each particular column of a table will have its own filter, and certainly those filters are very important, right? Because without those filters you will not be able to choose the value helps. You will not be aware even that possible values are there for a particular column. So that is fine, that is absolutely fine in cases where you need a value help. But there are many use cases where you do not need a value help. What you need is a date range, what you need is a amount range, something like that. And these can get very complex, and in those use cases you don't have to go every time to choose filters, but you can actually use a search bar which will be based on chat gpt or any other AI model. Even we can use generative AI from SAP, and what we'll do is like we'll write our query, and that query will go and you know s- run particular searches using chat gpt or other AI engines and get back the appropriate data sets. So we have already created for you and we'll showcase right now. So we have a search bar here, and here you can enter whatever query you want. So what we can ask is like show me data with amount less than 1000. Fine. So we can just do it and run the query, and you see after some time the query came back, the result is absolutely what we wanted, with date between, let's choose some date, let me choose April 2023 to May 2023, and you get one data, right? Or you can do March 2023 to May 2023, and then you get other set of data. So in this way you can see that you can keep on adding more and more search query, simple English text based, and you do not have to actually go into filters and keep choosing those things. You can write whatever filter you want, and this query will get you right set of data. So let's jump into coding part. And before that, we have actually written an article for you using the same concepts that we are going to discuss right now. So this article will cover everything, like from doing the setup. The very first setup that is required is doing setup of OpenAI API, right? And I believe that you also already know how to code in SAP UI5. So in that case, you can just follow a simple step the guides we have made here for you, that you can just go through and create basic application, and then you can actually you know go through the article, understand what exactly is the flow, what all possibilities are there in terms of chat gpt latest version, and then come into the coding part. All the codes are already in the article that we are going to showcase here. Perfect. So if we come back, and you'll see that we have created a basic application with a few files. So if I see the basic files that we are using here, is the first file is the view file. The view is a very simple page having a search box in the top, right? Nothing, it is doing nothing else. It's just having a placeholder that you can see in the UI, and a button is there that is on user search query, right? And then we have something called table, which has sales data binded with it. And all the fields, that order ID, customer data, date, amount, everything is binded to the respective column name. And nothing apart from that is coded in this particular file. And if I jump to the controller file of the same view, you can see that in the init we have loaded particular sales data. So sales data is something mock data we are creating here, and we have written a small piece of code for that. So it's like for 10 data we are generating as of now, because we do not want to load our chat gpt engine, and that's why we have written just 10 data as of now. But it will depend that whatever binding you are doing, you might get data from OData. And then what we are doing is like we are randomly generating the order ID, customer ID. The date is randomly generated using math function, and again the amount is also generated using math function randomly. So all these data is generated, and the data is binded in a model called all sales data. Fine, and the same model is set in the UI5 view. So if I go back to the view, you can see that we have binded a particular model sales here, right? And if I go back to the controller, you can see we are posting the same data over here in sales. Fine. So what we have done till now is like creating a simple view, creating a simple controller, and just binding a set of data, nothing else. And then we have written a piece of function where actually the chat gpt integration happens. So what happen is like you will write a set of query, and that query we can just fetch using this get value function. So get the view, we get the id, whatever id you have maintained for that particular input box, that is a user query input, and then we get the value from there. And then we have created a prompt. This is prompt something that we have created, but you know your business, you can create better prompt, right? So we filter the following sales data based on the user query. Whatever query I'm writing on the UI, I will get it from here. And the data, that format we want, the same data we are passing in the data format, like whatever data we have. So all data has to be passed so that the AI engine can perform some calculations on top of it. And then we were also mentioning that please provide filter data in a valid JSON format without additional text or comments. This is being done so that the model understands what type of output they have to give us. And this prompt is then passed into a particular JS file. So if you see in the web app, we have a folder called JS, and we have something called OpenAI service.js. So this is a custom JS file that we have created, and it has just one function. So actually we can actually create this function inside the same controller. We don't have to come back and write a different file for it. But since our plan moving forward is to reuse the same function again and again, that's why we have created a generic function in a different file. And this function receives a prompt, right? Whatever prompt we are sending from there, and then we are doing a simple ajax call, jquery call. So we have a url over here, right? And then the method is post. Content type we have kept json because the json data we are sending and the same type of data we want to receive. This is a very important part, the authorization. So when we integrate to chat gpt, we do not need to write extensive code in any of the file. We directly call the url that will actually bring data for me. We have to write the model, which model I am using. It's like the latest one or the old turbo GPT 3.5 turbo. And then we have to pass the prompt like this in the message. And then we have to provide something in the headers, the authorization data, right? So we write bearer and then we pass the token key. This key we can get from OpenAI. So we have to just type OpenAI API, and we can open up their platform. Before proceeding, actually you have to go and to this particular settings option, go to billing, and add your card over here. So you have to add some money over here, then only you can do your functionality. And then you can go to API keys, view your API keys here, and you can create a new secret key. So once you create, a pop-up will open up. You can copy that key, paste over here, the same key. Fine. And then you can just proceed with the development. So once we pass that particular prompt and the API is called, the value comes back into response. And then from the response, we are parsing the JSON value. We are in the very first field, we get the messages, and the messages have a content, and then we trim the value according to our format. And whatever data we are getting in the filter data, we are just binding it again with the table, same table. So let me go back to the, or just let me refresh it. And I will open up the sources and file just to showcase what exactly is happening over here. Show me data with amount greater than 1000. Okay, we click on search, and in the query you can see the same context is passed, and in the prompt certain context is passed, but also my query with all the data that we have. And now the API will be called. So we'll go into the API. It looks we came out of the API call. I will try to get directly the response. Yeah. So the response is having something called choices. And at the very first level of the array, you can find the messages. And within the content, you can find the stringified version. So what we have to do, we have to certainly reach until here, right? Till the content, message.content, and then parse it out. And then we can get the actual data in the form of JSON, right? And now this data can be binded back to the table. And if we go back, you see all the data is like filtered as per the query we have sent. I hope this very basic SAP Generative AI project is helpful for your understanding what all possibilities are there in terms of SAP. So we would love to know what all different ideas you have in SAP and Generative AI, and you can drop a comment. Thank you very much.